Hey guys, it's Emily, and today I have another sermon for you guys. Today's sermon is called Realistic Stories, a presentation to help you see some of my sermons in real life situations. Okay, so after we do the realistic stories, like one realistic stories, we're going to think it through with the 3 W's. The 3 W's are, what sermon was this in? What would you do in this situation? And what would Jesus do in this situation? And so, yeah, that's how we're going to do this thing. Lucas's story. By the way, guys, these are not true stories. I made them up. But they're realistic. Lucas was running around on the school field when he saw his friends and a group of kids fighting over a ball. Lucas ran over to them and asked, "What's happening here?" "We were going to play kickball and James's team won't let us kick first. They have the best players. That is not fair," his friend William replied. "Yeah!" shouted William's group. "Well, we want to kick first, and because he was first to pick, we should be first to kick," protested James. "Yeah!" agreed his group. Lucas did not know what to do. He agreed with James. Since William picked first, James's team should get to kick first. He knew that if he picked either one, the other one would be mad. It also might make a dent in their relationship. Okay, so let's think this through with the 3 W's. What sermon is this from? The Beatitudes. The Beatitudes this is basically based on is, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." Guys, I encourage you to figure out where the Beatitudes are and to memorize all of them. And some of the Beatitudes are, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." I encourage you guys to be able to memorize those because they're a good tool to have when you feel like those people. Okay? What would you do in this situation? And guys, by the way, when you answer these questions, I want you to think about your answer. I want you to check your answer. Does this answer make sense? And submit. By submitting, you can either write it down on a piece of paper, you can tell your family member, you can tell your friend, you can just keep it to yourself. So what would you do in this situation? This is what I would do, by the way. Guys, your answer could be totally different. I would make a time limit for each game. They could do rock, paper, scissors to figure out who goes first. Then, the next game, the team that did not kick first last time will get to kick. What do you think Jesus would do? Guys, whenever you're tempted to do something also, the very good thing to ask yourself is, what would Jesus do? And if Jesus wouldn't do it, you shouldn't be doing it either. I think Jesus would solve the problem peacefully. I'm not sure exactly how he would solve the problem, but I know it would be peacefully. Savannah's story. Savannah was helping her little brother with his math homework. He kept on getting confused again and again. Savannah had to explain the problem to him again and again. At first, it was okay, and Savannah was happy to help her brother. Then it became frustrating. How hard can it be? He's only on regrouping when I'm on multiplying. Guys, make sure to subscribe if you are having this, if you have a problem like this. It may not be your brother, it could be your sister, it could be some kid you take care of, or a different kid that always asks for help. Well, yeah, I actually have a situation like this. So Savannah would often think this. Her little brother asked her the same question he only did a few minutes ago. Savannah's frustration turned into anger. She had explained the same thing so many times. She just wanted to run to her room and lock the door so she wouldn't have to hear her brother ask the same question over and over again. Okay, let's think this through with the 3 W's. And remember to think, check, and submit. What sermon is this from? The fruits of the Spirit. And the one I picked is patience. So sometimes you need patience to tolerate the things in life. Patience is a very good tool to use in life. And the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. In your Bibles, it might have different words. So that's the way I know it, though. Okay, what would you do in this situation? That's interesting. I would try to figure out exactly what he or she is having trouble with. Exactly. Then I could ask him or her what helps her the most. I feel that this would be helpful to help him or her. Doing this is helpful for me, might be helpful for you or your little siblings or whoever. What do you think Jesus would do? I think that Jesus would have patience with him or her and help them in the very best way. Zach's story. Guys, make sure to like if sometimes you feel like Zach. Zach was having an awful day. He was late to school, which earned him a detention. He fought with his best friend. He got a horrible grade on a test. No one sat with him during lunch. He was on the bad soccer team for recess. The teacher kept on yelling at him for no reason at all. The camping trip that Zach and his grandpa were going to go on together was canceled because his grandpa got sick. His mother cooked for him his least favorite meal. He spent an hour doing his homework and had to go to bed without playing any video games. This is the worst day of my life, Zach thought as he lied in bed. Zach was very angry about his day. He thought there was absolutely no light in this dark day. Let's think this through with the 3 W's. What sermon is this from? Oh, sorry guys. Okay, what sermon is this from? Jesus is part 1. So at the very end, he was thinking about there was absolutely no light in this dark day. But in Jesus is part 1. We talked about many things about Jesus is. And one of the things was Jesus is the light in the darkness. He could be a light in a dark day. He could be the light when you're having a hard time. He could be a light in every dark situation. And we also talked about how Jesus is the way, the truth, a bunch of things that Jesus is. What would you do in this situation? I would read a book or watch a movie or show that makes me happy. Maybe a comedy, or read the Bible or pray. Praying and reading the Bible are very good ways to make you happy. What do you think Jesus would do? I think that Jesus would pray and ask God for strength. That is a very good thing to do, to ask God for strength, especially when you're having a hard time and you feel like everything is going wrong. Remember that not everything has gone wrong. There's still a few things that have not gone wrong. It just seems that everything has gone wrong. Remember to look on the bright side. Alice's story. Jane was a nerd, and everyone knew it. She was also a huge tattletale. No one liked her. No one talked to her willingly. No one sat with her at lunch. No one played with her at recess. She had no friends. She also looked down on herself. People also looked down on her. She was called ugly many times by many different people. One day, a new student came to school. Her name was Alice. Alice was beautiful. She got popular very quickly. Everyone liked her. They always wanted to talk with her, eat lunch with her, play with her at recess. Everyone looked up to her. She had many friends in just a few days. One day, on the weekend at recess, Alice saw Jane sitting alone, looking very sad. Alice went over to her and asked, "What's wrong?" "No one likes me. I have no friends. I have an ugly personality and I am ugly," sniffled Jane. Guys, do you sometimes feel like Jane that no one likes you at all? Well, sometimes it can seem like that, but sometimes your brain tricks you into thinking that. But you have a bunch of family and friends that are in this together with you. Let's think this through with the 3 W's. What sermon is this from? We are 2. Okay, so in We Are 2, we talked about what we are. We are God's people, we are God's messengers, we are God's creation. And this story was specifically about we are God's creation, and God created us beautifully. He created us in His image. What would you do in this situation? I would try to encourage them the best I could. Sometimes people, even though you encourage them the best you can, they're still just sad. Sometimes it's best to actually leave them alone. You can encourage them for a little bit, and then you can leave them alone if they're still kind of sad. Because sometimes leaving people alone is the best option, so they can actually think about it by themselves. What do you think Jesus would do? I think that Jesus would explain to that person that God made them perfect. I probably would tell them the same thing, but Jesus probably explained it better. Jason's story. Jason had a lot going on last night. He had a soccer game, he had to do his homework, eat dinner. Jason was so tired that he just flopped into bed with his school clothes still on. He was so exhausted that he forgot about the test the next day. When Mrs. Jonas announced the test, that he almost fell out of his seat. He never studied. If he failed the test, he wouldn't be able to go to the soccer match with his uncle. As Mrs. Jonas handed out the test to everyone, Jason looked at Sam. Sam was the smartest kid in the class. He sat next to Jason. Jason would be able to look at Sam's test answers. Let's think this through. What's the 3 W's? What sermon is this from? Satan is part 3. So right now, I forgot his name for a second. Sorry, guys. Jason. Okay, so Jason is being tempted to do something he knows he's not supposed to do. And Satan is part 3, we talked about how Satan is a tempter. He is a liar. He is like all the bad things you can imagine. What would you do in this situation? I would not cheat and try to do the best I can. So, I do not like to treat because either you get caught cheating or you don't get caught cheating and you feel guilty. And there's no taking away that guilt. It's really hard to just blow it away. So I would not want to cheat and try to do the best I can. What do you think Jesus would do? I'm pretty sure that Jesus would not cheat. I'm certain that Jesus would not cheat. This is Kelly's story. Kelly did something really bad. He stole money from her parents and used the money to download a song that her parents did not let her listen to. Kelly felt really bad about doing it. She had sinned against her parents and sinned against God. There was no forgiveness in that. Do you guys ever feel like you can't be forgiven? No one can help her. Why would I do it? Kelly thought. Her tablet would not let her delete it either for some reason. Well, Kelly's just having bad luck right now. One day, Kelly left her tablet while she was listening to music. So the music was still on and she just left it there. And she was not wearing headphones, by the way, guys. No headphones. Her mother went into Kelly's room and heard the song playing. When Kelly was confronted, she was very frightened. Let's think this through. With the 3 W's. What sermon is this from? Easter. In my Easter sermon, I talked about Palm Sunday, I talked about Good Friday, and Palm Sunday is basically when Jesus rode into Jerusalem and people had palm branches, they're waving it around, basically like a big parade, but in Bible times. And guys, I encourage you to read that story. And we also talked about Good Friday. That's when Jesus was put on the cross and crucified. And we also talked about the resurrection, when Jesus rose from the dead. And that whole system of Jesus dying was actually so he could wash away our sins. And when Jesus rose again, he defeated death. That was God's plan. What would you do in this situation? I would probably confess that I did it and then ask God for forgiveness. Because whenever I'm confronted, I just confess because I know there's no getting out of it. And then the most important thing to do is ask God for forgiveness. Because if you just say, okay, I did it, but then you don't ask for forgiveness, that's just not good. What do you think Jesus would do? Jesus never sinned at all. But I think if Jesus was outside, like a friend of Kelly's, I think that Jesus would encourage them to ask for forgiveness. Owen's story. Owen was sitting next to his mom at the airport. Owen was very nervous. His father was coming home for a business trip. The plane was having some difficulties landing. Owen knew he could not do anything since he was not on the plane. He didn't even know how to fly one. Then he remembered part of Matthew 7, verse 7 through 8. And I encourage you guys to read this verse. It is a very well-known verse, and I hope when I read this part, you'll remember it or you'll read it and memorize it. It was the part that said, ask and it will be given to you. Owen did not feel that praying would help anything. Do you ever feel like prayer is not strong enough to solve your problems? Sometimes, honestly, guys, I feel like that way. He was thankful for God giving him the gift of prayer, and prayer had helped him through many difficult situations. But he was not sure that prayer would help him now. Let's think this through. With the 3 W's, what sermon is this from? Fulfilling his promise. So guys, in fulfilling his promise, we talked about how Jesus always keeps his promise. He promised all the way from Adam and Eve, which is like a billions and billions of years ago. And then he kept it all the way till Jesus was born. And he promised the world a Messiah. And he's still keeping his promise now. And we promised that Jesus would come back again to save all who believe that he died and resurrected for us. So God keeps his promises. What would you do in this situation? I would pray that the plane would land safely. Have you ever guys heard the saying, better safe than sorry? So because prayer is a very strong, it's the best thing to pray. That's like the strongest thing you could do when you're in trouble. The best thing you could do. What do you think Jesus would do? I think that Jesus would pray. Guys, even though Jesus, God, the Holy Spirit, three people, they're three of one. There's one. They're one. They're one, but Jesus still prayed. He prayed the Lord's Prayer. And guys, I encourage you to see if you can memorize the Lord's Prayer. It might be a lot, but you can memorize chunk by chunk by chunk, and by like maybe a week or so, you'll be able to memorize it. Conclusion. Have you ever been in a situation like one of these? I've been in a few of these situations. Like, not necessarily exactly what it was like, but like some of them, like part of it was kind of like my situations. Did you do what Jesus would do? Is there anything you would want to change about your solution to the problem? Guys, solutions sometimes seem like good things, but sometimes the solutions are not very good to everyone else, or like not good at all. A solution seems like a good word, but sometimes it's not really the best thing, because a solution can be bad or it can be good, and sometimes the solution doesn't even work. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this sermon, and I hope you learned a lot, and I hope you take this to heart and share with your family and friends. So now I'm gonna say